character, teamwork, hard work, perseverance, greatness, success, failures, motivation, humility. Those are things that this game has really taught me.
I love the game of football because there's nothing like it. I mean, the challenge, the discipline, the teamwork.
Not only what you did on the field, but how you carry yourself off the field. All this comes into a package, and they say, well, I could be like that too, or I can do the same things that he did. And it really makes me feel good that I'm an example for other people.
I think honor and I think integrity. Those two things, I've always wanted to be true to the game.
You learn in the game to be accountable, and I think for my kids, just teaching them how to be accountable, and maybe they won't play the game of football, but just being accountable for things in life.
Working together and learning the responsibility of not only your within yourself and your job and your responsibility yet, but working with other people next to you.
I believe so many people go to the grave empty without ever fulfilling their potential. So part of my life assignment and what I do even with my children is help them take your unique gifts and attempt to become the best at it.
Football is such an incredible game.
It was a passion. You have to respect people, and they got to respect you.
There's so many things that I learned from the game: discipline, respect, perseverance, resiliency, all the things that is really what sports is about.
I want to use my election into the Hall of Fame for 2014 in order to me further serving the community in a different way, and I accept that challenge head first.
Honor the heroes of the game.
Preserve its history.
And promote the values of the game.
To celebrate excellence everywhere.
Well, good morning. Morning. All right. I'm Joe Horrigan. I'm Executive Vice President here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. We have a very, very interesting program for you today. I think you're going to really enjoy yourselves. I hope you enjoyed that video, give you a sense of what we're going to be talking about today. Heart of the Hall of Famer. We're going to be talking about what it takes to be a Hall of Famer. Those 6 gentlemen you saw behind, or 7 gentlemen you saw on the screens behind us, those were the members of the class of 2014. And what they were talking about character. They were talking about what it takes to be a Hall of Famer. That's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about 6 pillars of character, and we've identified those pillars as trustworthiness, respect, responsibility, fairness, caring, and citizenship. And I think we'll have a nice, lively, interactive discussion, not only amongst ourselves, but with our special guests, who I'll be introducing to you in just a moment. But before I introduce our guest, I'm going to introduce you to each other and to us. We have both a live audience today, obviously, and we have several schools joining us through video conferencing. So first, I'm going to welcome our live audience, and today we have with us Green High School from Green, Ohio. Are you here, Green High School? No, not here yet, okay. We have W.S. Guy from Youngstown, Ohio. Oh, I saw a few hands. Come on, let's give it a little cheer. There we go. All right. QRS from Massillon, Ohio. Let's hear it for you. Come on, that's it. Great. Okay. Sheffield Middle School, did they arrive yet? Okay, they're still en route as well. Canton Local Schools. Yeah. All right. Yeah. All right. Willoughby South High School, are they here yet? Oh, Willoughby just came in. Great. Welcome. Lehman Middle School, I'm sorry. All right, very good. And Glen Oak High School. There we go. Okay. All right, now joining us on video conferencing, some we're going to be able to hear and maybe some others we won't, but Wilson High School from Florence, South Carolina, are they on? They are on? Okay, let's welcome them here. All right. Also from Florence, South Carolina, Alfred Rush Academy. Let's hear a little applause for them. And Williams Middle School from Florence, South Carolina. We have the 6 through 12 school from Frederick, Wisconsin joining us. And Maple Hill Middle School from Castleton, New York.
Here, guys.
All right, there we go. All right, well, glad and welcome to all of you that are here. I want to make a quick note for those of you here today in our live audience and our video conferencing audience, anyone using social media today, please use hashtag Heart of HOFER. Okay, that's Heart of HOFER. All right, HOFER. That's what we have sitting next to us. Speaking of sitting next to us, ladies and gentlemen, you know, it's really a rare occasion that you really get to meet somebody that, you know, has been at the top of his profession. You know, someone when you walk away and say, you know, I met the best of the best. Today you have that opportunity. And today we're talking about Harry Carson. Harry Carson played 13 years with the New York Giants and was one of the longest players in the club's history. 13 years, that's a long time to play pro football. He was a 4th-round draft pick out of South Carolina State, where he played 173 games, never missed a game in college, I believe. Is that true, Harry? True. All right. Was team captain of the New York Giants, 10 of his 13 seasons. That's about leadership. He was named to the NFL's All-Rookie team and then made 9 Pro Bowls during his 13 years as a pro. That's almost unheard of. He was a great defensive player. He set the pace at South Carolina. He actually played a defensive end, but was converted to linebacker when he made the pros. But more importantly, when he was at South Carolina, he also earned his bachelor's of science degree in education. This is very important to understand that Harry took the opportunity that was given him, not only as an athlete, but as a student athlete. And he used that education in his life after pro football. He was 2-time captain with South Carolina and the defensive lineman. South Carolina State. I'm so sorry. I know there is. And some of his past accolades include he was with the Wilson High School Alumni Hall of Fame, South Carolina State University Athletic Hall of Fame, Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference, Florence, South Carolina Athletic Hall of Fame, and on and on and on. But the most important one for us here today is that he was elected to the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2006. And, you know, when we talk about Harry Carson, there's a lot of things we can say about him, but one of the things that comes to mind is that he was what you would call the consummate team player. This is a team sport, and for those of us who have known and followed Harry's career, he epitomized teamwork. He led his defense with the Giants in tackles for 5 seasons. As I mentioned, with the 9 Pro Bowls. His best single performance was a 1982 Monday night game. And if you're going to have a big game, Monday night was the game to have it on. That was against the Green Bay Packers, where he had 20 solo tackles and 5 assists. That's unheard of. During his career, he recovered 14 opponent fumbles. A ferocious run stopper, you know, as a linebacker. We think of the great running backs that have to face linebackers. Harry is one of the great run stoppers. When he was joined by his teammates, I think we have one of our VC, if you can mute your speaker, there we go. When Harry was joined at the Giants by 2 of his teammates later in Harry's career, about halfway through his career, Lawrence Taylor and Carl Banks, they became perhaps the best linebacking core in pro football at that time and really almost since. I mean, an outstanding unit. So at this point in time, I want to take a pause from my introduction and ask that we roll a short video we have on Harry Carson running behind us here in just a minute.
All year for, okay? 60 minutes, all we got for 60 minutes, all right? We'll be world champions, all right? Let's go.
The honor of making the Hall of Fame is great, but it was even greater to have the opportunity to play in a league with 18,000 individuals, and they're some of the best individuals I've ever encountered. We'd get on the field and we'd fight tooth and nail, and we'd try to knock each other out, and then we'd walk off the field and pat each other on the rear end and say, congratulations, or hang in there. And at that point, I realized to play this game, you have to be something special. You have to be dedicated. You have to have a hunger. You have to be committed to playing the game. And I committed myself to playing the game. I'm excited about being that person to be able to represent any football player who snapped on that chin strap. As I enter the Hall of Fame, I take so many people with me, my teammates, my family, my close friends, my coaches. I take my ancestors, I take my children, but most importantly, I take the fans who have encouraged me game after game after game.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Hall of Famer Harry Carson. Now, as you just saw, Harry was elected to the Hall of Fame in 2006. And it was on a big stage and a lot of pressure on him that day, probably more so than the game. And thank a lot of folks. Harry, if you can tell the audience a little bit about, first of all, what was going through your mind when you got the call that you were elected to the Hall of Fame, and then you made that decision. When someone's elected to the Hall of Fame, the first thing they have to do is they have to select someone to present them. In other words, to introduce them at their induction ceremony. And Harry made an interesting decision, and I'd like for you to recall, if you don't mind, how it felt when you got that call in 2006 and why you selected who you did.
Well, when I finally got the call, because it took me a long time to get into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, but when I got the call, really didn't believe it. And when it finally sunk in that I had been elected to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, I had to go through the whole process of, determining who was going to present me. And at that time, my son, Donald, was going through a medical crisis. He had a condition called aplastic anemia, and that's when the bone marrow stops making the blood supply that you should have. And I asked him, I said, do you think that I could trust you to do something rather significant for me? He said, what? And I said, I want you to present me at the Pro Football Hall of Fame for the induction. He said, man, I live for the spotlight. And so at that point, I sort of knew I had my guy. And I love my kids, and I cherish them. And with him saying yes, he would do it. It was one of those things that sort of gave him the momentum to continue to go through the treatment that he was going through, and which was not an easy process, but it did bind us together as a father and son, and as a family. And so I was honored that he agreed to introduce me or present me at the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
It was a really emotional moment for all of us who knew the story behind the scenes, and obviously, it was a great moment for him and for you. Harry, we've talked about these 6 pillars of character, and obviously the character with which your son delivered that introduction speech was really remarkable. But we talk about these trustworthiness, respect, responsibility, fairness, caring, and citizenship as if there's something that's unique to others. Mm-hmm. Aren't those the same characteristics that you found in the locker room your entire career?
Well, I was, let me tell you why I started playing football. When I first went out for the football team, I quit on the first day of practice. I quit because I had the wrong sort of incentive for playing. I thought I looked good in a uniform. it was like a chick magnet, and I thought, I look good in this uniform, but I was not willing to pay the price to prepare to take on what I was about to pursue. And I quit on the first day. I was in the 9th grade, and I quit to turn my uniform in. And when I went into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, reflecting back, I just thought, what if I had not gone back? What if I had just quit the team and just gone on with my life? I'm sure I probably would have I think, learned lessons that I needed for life in some other way. But having played the game, it's really one of those things where you're preparing to play an opponent, but you're learning all of these lessons that you can carry with you over into other facets of your life. And you learn how to treat people. You treat people the way you want to be treated. You learn what dedication is all about. Had I not had that bitter taste of quitting in my gut, I probably, would not have gone back. But I didn't like that feel of giving up. And so I learned about perseverance. When I went back the next year and I started playing, I was going to persevere no matter what in making the team. If the guy next to me was going to stick and stay, I was going to stick and stay. And so, I learned so much from that. And, I've had the opportunity to speak to groups all over the country, and, it really doesn't matter who you are. Those lessons, if you can take those lessons and apply them to your own life, you really can be successful. It doesn't necessarily mean that you can be a Pro Football Hall of Famer, but you can succeed in other areas of your life, whether it's academics or athletics or in relationships and so forth. Quite frankly, I'm a father. I am a grandfather now. I still think I'm much too young to be a grandfather, so I'm a pop. And many of those lessons that I learned from football, I carry with me, and I've instilled into my kids, and also now with my 5-year-old grandson and my granddaughter who's 8. And it's about treating people the way you want to be treated, with dignity, respect. Don't get frustrated if something doesn't work out for you. You find a way to get what you need and not give up. I've seen so many people over the years, and I've seen a lot of players come and go, and they give in, and they give up. And you don't get to this level by giving up.
Right. Well, those are great lessons: respect, responsibility, caring, all of those sorts of things. We're going to make this kind of interactive with all of you. We're going to be taking a couple of questions from each of the schools here today, and each of the schools on our video conferencing. I think we have, why don't you say your school and your name and give us your question?
Hi, my name is Chris Gully from WSI Middle School. And do you ever have trouble balancing school and sports? And what advice would you give students facing that challenge today?
I had trouble when I was my first semester in college, because I was playing football, but also I had the heavy load of college as a freshman. I wasn't really the best student, and so I sort of got diverted with the social life, with girls, with let me just say this, okay? We're different ages here, but I know exactly where you are because I've been there. For all of those folks back in Florence, South Carolina, I'm happy that you are on this conference because I've walked where you've walked. I've gone to the Magnolia Mall, for those folks back in Florence, but for all of you here, we've been there. And so I know that you have certain challenges, and those challenges are not unique because we've already been through them. Your parents have been through them. They've shared certain things with you. And as I sit here and I look at many of you, And I know that some of you are probably tired and you're a little bored and you're chewing gum and you're sort of slouching down and all of this stuff. I understand. I've been there. But I don't want you to miss this opportunity, because I know where you are going. And I know that many of you have challenges that you're dealing with. And with this program, I'm not saying that this is the end all to be all, but you take advantage of every opportunity that you have to learn something every day, because that's what life is all about. It's about learning something every day. And for me, now getting back to the question, I had my priorities all screwed up because I was playing football, I was going to class, but also I was like trying to date every girl that I could date, you know, as a freshman in college, and I almost flunked out. Had I flunked out, I was like 1/10 of a point from being placed on academic probation. If I had been placed on academic probation, I could not have played football. And so that scared me straight. And so I went from almost being placed on academic probation to graduating with honors from South Carolina State. And so I learned from that situation that you have to prioritize. You know, you have to put things in their right perspective. You know, there's a time to play, there's a time to go to, you know, if you want to socialize, there's a time to socialize, but you better make sure that you get your work and make sure that you learn everything that you can learn, because as you move forward, you know, life is very challenging, and it's about those people who are prepared. So prepare for life, and I think that's part of the reason why you're here today, because you are preparing for life.
I might add to that before we take our next question, but I mentioned that, you know, Harry earned his degree. Harry's also a published author. He's written 2 books. So you're looking at a man who's not only excelled on the football field and academics and in his post-football life, but he's a published author, which is quite an accomplishment in and of itself. We have another question. If you wouldn't mind, identify yourself and the school you go to.
My name is Tyler Wilson from W.S. Guy Middle School. And my question is, was there ever a moment where you just wanted to be a normal person and not want to be famous?
Quite frankly, I've always been a normal person. I just played football. And there's nothing that separated me from anybody else except that I played football. I think if you ever get to a point where you think that you are above somebody else, you know, at some point life is going to hit you so hard that, you know, you're going to find out that you are just like anyone else. There is absolutely no difference between me and you. There's absolutely no difference between any of us in this audience, okay? I never looked at myself as anything special. I was someone who played football. And I was not a football player, I was someone who played football. And so, as I said before, I'm just like anybody else. I've failed at things, I've succeeded doing things, but you know, I'm just like anyone else. I have my faults, I had my weaknesses and so forth, but there is nothing that separates me from you. Okay?
One of the things I would add to that, Harry, is, just so that they know this, that Harry has used the opportunity of his fame, however, for the benefit of others. And that's important, as we do have opportunities to use our skills in a public forum. Harry has taken advantage of that. And I just want to cite, if I can find it here, where I made a note. In 2012, Harry was named the Man of the Year by the Walter Camp Football Foundation, and he was also honored by the Mental Health Association of New York City, and was the recipient of the 2012 MVP Award honoring Lifetime Achievement by the United Way of New York City. So you can see that these are just a few of the examples of how Harry has used his notoriety to help others. And I might ask you, if you would, Harry, before we go to another question, could you tell me, the book, your second book that you wrote was called Captain of Life.
Captain for Life.
For Life, I'm sorry. And it was playing off the idea that you were a captain of your football team, but really talking about life. And that's really what we're talking about today, isn't it?
Well, having played, I've always been, or considered myself a leader for any team that I've been a part of, whether it was in high school or whether it was in college or in the NFL. And having played with the Giants, I was captain 10 of my 13 years. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I was captain, and I was voted captain, for 10 consecutive years, is because my teammates knew that I cared about them. And I put team over individual. And I wanted the best from my teammates, but I also wanted them to have the best. And so, you do things to make certain that guys feel included, feel like they're a part of the group, that they're happy about playing. And I'll never forget when we played, two of my teammates, Jim Burt and Phil McConkey, they addressed me as their captain for life. And so a couple of years ago, we had our 25th anniversary of the Giants winning Super Bowl 21 against the Denver Broncos. And at that time, when you get 51 of 53 players coming back and 8 of the 11 coaches coming back for a reunion, including Bill Parcells and Bill Belichick, and everybody had such a great time, Phil McConkey and Jim Burt said, "Harry, you are still our captain for life. Nobody could have done this. Nobody could have done this reunion like you." And so I've always sort of ingratiated myself or been very proud of being their captain, because once you're a captain, for these guys, they're sort of your responsibility, and you don't walk away from the responsibility. Even today, as they're living their own personal lives, there are issues that they dealt with, and I'm talking about my teammates just in general, that I've been able to help them in some way, not just with guys who I played with, but also guys who I played against. With my induction into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, if you can recall, Joe, I got up and I sort of told the NFL and the Players Association to do a better job of taking care of those who have played the game. As a result of stepping forward and saying that, Roger Goodell called me into his office and he gave me an understanding of what he wanted to do to help, retired players. And now retired players are getting much better benefits than they got before. And I think the pensions that players are getting now have increased as a result of, you standing for something and speaking on behalf of, those guys who really didn't have a voice at that time. So not only am I a captain for life for the guys who I played with, but the guys who I played against considered me their captain.
And that's a big part of what we use the word citizenship.
Yeah.
It doesn't just mean citizenship in your country, but it can be in your community, in your school, with your team, with your fellow former players, to see that things are done right.
Yeah.
We're going to come back to another part of that question. I'm going to come back to that in a minute. But I think we want to go to our video audience, our VC audience. And I'm not quite sure who's able to hear me right at the moment, but let's go to 6th through 12th school in Frederick, Wisconsin. Do you have a question for us?
Hi, my name is Josh Underwood from Frederick High School, and I was wondering, when did you really realize in life when you wanted to go with football for your career?
I didn't quite get that.
Can you repeat that one more time?
I was wondering when you really decided you wanted to do football for a career. Like, what time in life did you figure out you wanted to fulfill football?
You cannot choose football as a career because there's so many potholes that you have to sort of navigate just to get to the NFL level. I just sort of happened into football. I went on, you know, when I went to college, I got my degree, and I was drafted to play with the Giants. When I was drafted to play with the Giants, I thought I was a pretty good player at defensive end, the position that I played in college. And then when I got to the NFL, Marty Schottenheimer, who drafted me, wanted to switch me to another, another position, the middle linebacker position. To be challenged to play the middle linebacker position in New York, a position that I had never played before, on the highest level, was certainly a challenge. And I was able to make that transition. Had I not been able to make that transition, I would have just gone on with my life, but I was able to make the transition. So there are so many potholes that you have to sort of navigate your way through just to get to that level. And then once you get to that level, you're only going to play but for so long. The average career when I played was 3.8 years. The average career today is 3.4 years. And so even if you wanted to play, and if you're the average, what do you do with the rest of your life after you're 26? After you're 26 years old, you still have the rest of your life to live. So you have to prepare for that next phase of your life. And so, you know, I encourage everyone, get as much education as you can get. If you're able to make it, if you're able to stay healthy, if you have the talent, if you're able to play for any period of time, at some point it's going to end. And then when it's over, you know, what do you do with the rest of your life? And so, no, I look at pro football as a temp job. You know, that really is what it is. It's a temp job that you're paid very well to play, and then it's over. So, you know, that's it.
Not a career you choose, it chooses you.
Well, you know, as I said, I fell into it, and I thought, let's see how far I can go with this. And, you know, my eyes were wide open, and never bought that car that was too expensive. If I didn't make it, I could afford to pay for the car.
Sorry. Okay, I want to go to our second video conferencing school, Maple Hill Middle School in Castleton, New York. Do you have a question for Harry?
Hello, my name is Megan Bennett, and I was wondering what events in your life gave you the strength to power through difficult and challenging times?
What event in my life gave me the strength? I think that, you know, football is a great teacher, and you find yourself in situations where you just want to cry, and you just want to, you just feel sorry for yourself, like when people are beating you, and, you know, you're like the homecoming feast for everybody, and, you know, everybody wants to play you because, you know, you suck and you're awful and everything, but you find a way to get past that, and you get better, and you know, you persevere. And so I've been a part of some really lousy teams, and I've learned a lot from failure. I mean, if you ever fail at something, embrace it. Don't feel so negative about it, but embrace it. My son played on the football team, and I know I'm getting away from your, I'm getting away from your question, but he played on a college team where he played basketball and also football. His senior year, they didn't win one basketball game, and I remember walking up to him as he was walking off the court, and I said, I love you, I respect you, you're going to learn so much from this situation that you'll take with you for the rest of your life. And then he went on and he played football. They didn't win one game, didn't tie one game. And I said, I love you, I respect you, you're going to learn so much from this situation that you'll take with you for the rest of your life. When he graduated, we found out that he had aplastic anemia. He could have died. And we went through it together. And it was at that point that I recognized, and he also recognized, that having lost those games positioned him to fight and to persevere. And you have opportunities in everyday life when things don't necessarily go your way, when you don't score as high on an exam as you expect and you're disappointed. You don't give up. You come back and you fight to get better. And that's what I did when I played. I fought to get better. That's what my son did when he was ill. We both fought to defeat the issues that he was having with aplastic anemia. So you'll have situations where you may fail. Don't give up. Move forward, embrace it, and do the best that you can do. The only thing that I always ask of my kids, but also my grandkids, is do your best. That's what I did as a football player. Every time I walked off the football field, I'd turn and look when the game was over. And I would look and I'd ask myself, did I do everything that I could do to help my team win? And if the answer is no, then I felt really bad. But if the answer was yes, and even if we lost the game 60-0, if I did everything that I could do, then I felt like, I could go home and sleep and, it not bother me. But in whatever you do, just strive to be the best that you can be. And for me, being the best that I could be earned me a gold jacket, a bust, and I'm number 231 out of the many thousands of men who have played professional football. I'm number 231. And that is because every day I did the best that I could do. And so you, whether you're here or whether you are at your respective high schools, do the best that you can do. Nobody can ask any more of you. When my kids came home and they had C's and I asked, is that the best that you can do? They said, yeah, that's the best that I could do. And I'm good with it. But if they could do better, then I expect them to do their best. And so I challenge each and every one of you today, do the best that you can do in your schoolwork, do the best that you can do in developing your relationships with your friends. Be the best friend that you can be.
We have a couple questions in the back. Why don't you say your name and your school?
My name is Max Hansen. I'm from Glen Oak High School, and I just had a question. Football is often regarded as the ultimate team sport. How did teamwork teach you about life?
Teamwork taught me that you can't do anything by yourself. Had it not been for my teammates or teamwork, this would not be possible. As I was on those fields in July and August running sprints, and I wanted to quit, had it not been for that guy next to me who would say, come on, big dog, let's go. Had it not been for that encouragement, that wouldn't be me. Had it not been for being in the huddle with those guys, and you're on the 5-yard line, and the opposing team is challenging you to score. And if they score, they go ahead, and the clock is running down. Had it not been for those guys being in that huddle and saying, okay, we're going to bound together and we're not going to let them in, that would not be me. Teamwork, you just learn so much about yourself working with people. And quite frankly, in this world, we can't do it by ourselves. We have to work together. And we have to, as a country, we have to hang together. You can't just do things by yourself. And so you learn determination, you learn commitment. You find out a lot about people, not when things are going good, but when things are going bad. I found that to be the case. When everything is going good, then everybody's good. But when you're dealing with adversity, that's when you really find out what that person next to you is all about. And I was captain for a long time, and those guys who I played with, they knew what I was all about, but I also knew what they were all about. And even today, if something is going on with me, I know who I can go to, and I know who I should not go to, because I know what they are made of, I know what their commitment is, and I know that, what I can get from them. But I also extend myself to my teammates, and they know what they're going to get from me.
That's perfect. Harry's on a new team now. He's a part of the Hall of Fame team, the most exclusive team in pro football. We're going to go to our video conferencing groups. Let's try Wilson High School from Florence, South Carolina.
Yeah, shout out to Wilson.
This is where Harry's from.
Hi, I'm Kwame Kantz from Wilson High School, starting receiver. And I would like to know, as a child here in Florence, what events in life impacted you to become the man you are today?
Oh, God. You know what impacted me? The people in Florence who encouraged me along the way. When I was elected to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, the time between my election and my induction, I had the opportunity to think about so many things. And to be at this level, having started playing at Wilson High School, quit the team, came back, made it, went on to South Carolina State, played for 4 years. And, along the way, there were so many people who said something to me, and that's what I thought about between the time I was elected and the time that I was inducted, that sort of kept me on the right track to keep me from dealing with, I don't want to say gang activity because there were no gangs back then, but just keep me focused, to keep me straight, to encourage me, all of my teachers. I was talking with someone this morning, one of the women from my church who gave me the opportunity to wash windows. And, I just remember all of these small things that happen to sort of have such a blueprint on my heart to go in a certain direction. And I think about the ministers, the teachers, my friends, the parents of friends of mine who said something along the way to sort of keep me on the right track. And quite frankly, I think that all of you and all of you at home or at different schools, you're being told the same thing. To stay in school, get your work, and it sort of goes in one ear and out the other, and you don't really pay attention to it, and all of the stuff that your teachers are trying to teach you, you think, I don't need that, but at some point you're going to need it. You're going to need the guidance. You're going to need the wisdom. You're going to need the knowledge. And that's what I thought about. All of those people who sort of made it possible for me to be here, because I was not the biggest, I wasn't the best, I wasn't the fastest, I wasn't the strongest. There were so many players who were so much better than me, who should have been here, but for whatever reason, they didn't make it.
Well, there's, before we go to Williams Middle School in Florence, South Carolina, I want to go back to one thing we hit on just real quickly, and this is about caring about others. Mm-hmm. And you've been you've been the executive director of the Fritz Pollard Alliance. Now, you might explain what that is, and first I think let's set the scenario that the school you went to when you went to college was an historically black college, and how that
was an all-black school.
All-black school,
yeah.
HBCU as we call it. And how that shaped you, and the opportunities that it did and didn't allow you, and how it motivated you to become involved with the Fritz Pollard Alliance.
Well, it wasn't so much about the school that I went to, but it was sort of the era in which I came from, because when I was in school, I went to an all-black elementary school. I went to Williams Junior High School in Florence. I went to Wilson High School, and then I got transferred during desegregation to McClinigan High School, and that's where I graduated from. And then I went to South Carolina State. And while I played in the NFL, I thought about what am I going to do with the rest of my life, and I thought, I don't think I want to go into coaching, because I saw that many of the coaches who were coaching at that time were not my color. And those who were very few, not like now. And so there were no black head coaches in the National Football League back then. And I saw the frustration that many of those coaches had, trying to get to the next level as a head coach. And so, a few years ago, I was asked by Jerry Reese, who is the general manager of the Giants, to assume the role as executive director of the Fritz Pollard Alliance. And the Fritz Pollard Alliance represents all of the minority coaches, minority scouts, game day officials, GMs in the National Football League. And so while I've been an advocate for players and benefits and so forth, I'm also an advocate for creating more diversity within the NFL by representing minority coaches and so forth. And while I never really wanted to be a coach, I feel good about being able to represent or advocate on their behalf in terms of diversity within the league. And so we work very closely with the National Football League and Commissioner Goodell and Dan Rooney, who is chairman of the NFL's Diversity Committee, to open doors for many of those who really don't have much of a voice. And so in essence, I advocate on behalf of many of those who want to be head coaches and general managers in the National Football League.
It goes back to that pillar of fairness.
Yeah.
Fairness in life. All right, we're going to go on to Williams Middle School from Florence, South Carolina. Say hello to Mr. Carson and state your name if you're hooked up. Hopefully we are connected. Nope, I'm sorry, we're getting a sign they're not able to connect. Why don't we try then, we'll go to Alfred Rush Academy. Are they connected? Nope, I'm sorry. We're going to go to our live audience then. All right.
I'm Sean Go from QRS. My question is, what are some examples of times that you've had to persevere through adversity?
What are some of the examples of tolerance?
Times that you've had to persevere through adversity.
I think I've had to persevere through racism. I'm from the South, and I'm from a different era. And, when I was sort of coming along, there wasn't the kind of cohesive relationship that you might sort of enjoy now between blacks and whites. I've had to deal with bigotry, not just on many different levels. It's kind of interesting being a Hall of Famer, because I like living my life. I like just being just a regular person, and a regular person. But sometimes, even today, I live in the New York area. If I'm in New York City and I'm trying to hail a taxi in New York City, and the taxi is vacant, sometimes the taxi will not stop for me simply because they see me as a black male. And sometimes people will approach me in such a way that is not becoming. And then when they find out that I played with the Giants, there is a shift in attitude. And then when they find out that I'm in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, there's really a shift, you know. And so I sort of learned that whoever you encounter, treat that person with respect because you do not know who they are. On a daily basis, you know, I get up and I put on sweats and I wear flip-flops and you know, I go to Starbucks and get my, you know, no foam latte or a triple shot, you know, and people see me and they don't really know who I am because, you know, a lot of the people, it's been like 26 years since I've played and I've aged a little bit and cut my hair off, you know, because I'm a little vain, got a little gray up there, I'm trying to hide it. And people see me and they don't really know who I am, you know. And then when they find out, and then they're embarrassed because they didn't speak or whatever. And you know, it's one of those things where you understand where you are and you understand people and you give them the benefit of the doubt. And you know, for me, I enjoy killing a person with kindness and speaking to them first and just being nice to people. And that sort of embarrasses them to, you know, be nice back and so forth. So.
Okay, we have another question in the back.
I apologize. My brother was a Baptist minister. And, you know, you have those church services and, you know, those ministers, they go on and on and on. And that's who I am sometimes, sort of like my brother.
My name's Terrence Shaboa from WS Guy Middle School. You played with some other great linebackers. Who was your favorite teammate of all time and why was he your favorite?
I played with some really good players, but those players played with me. And I think that I made them better. No, I'm just kidding. No, I mean, the guys who I played with, the guys who I played with, I mean, they were fantastic players. And I think that we made each other better. You know, I played with Lawrence Taylor, and if Lawrence was probably with another team, I don't know if he would have been as great as he was, having played with Brad Van Pelt, Brian Kelly, and myself early on, and then playing with Carl Banks and myself and Gary Reasons. Carl Banks, fantastic linebacker. But I think that we played well off of one another, and we played well together, and we had Bill Belichick as a defensive coordinator. We had Bill Parcells as a head coach. And they prepared us, and when we stepped on the football field, we were ready, we were prepared. And so not only were we physical on the field, but we knew what to do, and that's the thing. You know, people think that you just sort of show up, get on the field, run through plays, and that's it. You don't understand the amount of work that you have to do in the classroom and film study and so forth just to get on the right page. And so those guys were fantastic players. But again, had it not been for us being able to play together and work together, this would not be possible.
Very good. We're going to go back to Wilson High School and see if we have another question coming from Wilson.
Don't be shy.
Push him out.
This is Carson. How you doing?
Doing great.
Chatty.
How are you?
Well, first, coming up here in Florence, the players wanted to know what was practices like. That was one of the big things from the student athletes here that they wanted to ask you. How were practices back in the old days here at Wilson?
Back in the day, I don't want to say in the old days, but back in the day, I mean, it was hard. It was hard, and it was physical, and that was the reason why I walked off the field. You know, I put on my uniform and went out on the field, and when we started running, and we did gassers and cutaways and all the sprints, and we did the the hitting drills and so forth. And I got my first concussion like first day when somebody hit me. I was like, oh my God. And I gave up my uniform, and I came back, and to be able to play, you have to commit yourself to play, and you can't be wishy-washy about it, because things happen on the football field that you sort of knocks you back into reality. You get hit on the football field, it's no place for people who are passive, and so for me, it was just about that August South Carolina sun, where it's hot, the field is dusty, you didn't have Gatorade, you had a bucket of ice water, and you just had to get through it. And again, it really is about the physicalness of playing the game. I mean, the hits and to be able to survive, that really is what makes you, I think.
It's great training for life. I know you have a son that's a Marine.
Yeah.
Similar kind of training.
Similar training. I mean, you're really pushed to the limits. When I walked off the football team, the coach, and for those folks back in Florence, Coach Long, he laughed at me because I was quitting, and I always remember him laughing at me as I was walking away from the field, and I didn't like it, and I sort of learned the lesson that if I'm ever going to do something, I have to commit myself to do it. And whether it's playing football, whether it's doing an assignment, whether it is getting married, you have kids, you have to commit, and you have to give every ounce to what you're committed to be successful. Now, I'm very fortunate in that, I have, and I don't want to bang my drum too much, but I have 3 kids, and they are 3 of the very best people that I know. I am so proud that, I did those parent-teacher conferences and, the little stuff that people really don't even think about,
Are the important things, though.
I had the opportunity to play after I left football, and my daughter was playing softball, and I thought to myself, I don't want to play any more football because I want to be able to go to my daughter's softball practices. And so I would go to softball practice, and I'd take like a cooler of Snapple. And while it was sort of insignificant at that time, when my daughter became like 27, 28, she thanked me. She said, Dad, thanks for being there for me. It's little gestures like that you don't really think about or don't bear any kind of fruit until like later when they become parents and they understand what being a committed parent is all about, but they also understand what being a committed soldier is all about. My son Donald went on to med school, and now he's a doctor, so he knows what being a committed doctor is all about.
It's all about sharing and teaching.
Yeah.
We have some more questions in the back. Let's start with the young lady there. If you'd state your name and what school you go to.
I'm Taylor, and I go to Glen Oak High School, and I was wondering if you had any advice for young people about how to develop their character.
How to develop their character? The best thing that I can tell you is freeze. Freeze. The best thing that I can tell you, it's so basic. Treat people the way you want to be treated, regardless of who they are. And if you're going to do something, be the best at what you do. If you are, if you are going to be a mother, be the best mother that you can be. If you're going to be a father, be the best father that you can be. You can go ahead and sit down, but keep listening to what I'm saying. I have a granddaughter who is 8, and I remember when she was about 3 or 4, and she had a brother coming along, and I had this conversation with her, and I said, I want you to promise me that you are going to be the best big sister in the whole wide world. And so she has been the best big sister in the whole wide world to her brother. And you know, for me, it's very basic, and I don't want to get bogged down with a lot of words, but you treat people the way you want to be treated. And you give them your best. And you know, I've seen good, I've seen bad, I've seen people with negative attitudes, and you sort of stay away from those people who have those negative attitudes. But I like to be close to people, especially young people, who have an upbeat personality, who will smile, who treats me like I'm special, and who's fair, who is honest, and who doesn't make any excuses for anything. You know, they treat their family, and they love their family members and so forth. You always just treat people the way that you want to be treated. I mean, it's very, very basic, very elementary, but you know, that really is one of the secrets to life. You know, quite frankly, I'm 60 years old. I'm 60 years old. And in what I've tried to do all of my life is what my parents instilled in me. Treat people the way you want to be treated. And if you can do that, you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay.
We have time for one more in the back or two more. Okay, we got one coming up here, and then we'll, if you would identify yourself and your school.
My name's Melanie Bardall from WS Guy Middle School, and my question is, what career would you have chosen if you never got into football?
What career would I have chosen if I had not played football? I probably would have been a teacher, because that's what I was trained for. But what I really wanted to do is, I'm from an Air Force family, and I've always had this desire to fly. And so I probably would have been an officer in the Air Force, and I probably would have been a pilot somewhere, flying planes. I was really deep into ROTC when I was in high school. Again, sort of like football, when I put on the ROTC uniform, I looked really good. You know, and for me, you know, it's like, you know, if you look good, you're going to do good. And so I probably would have been an officer in the military.
Okay, we're going to try our video conferencing in one of our schools from Castleton, New York, possibly Maple Hill Middle School. Are you with us that you can ask a question?
Stand up.
Yeah. Do you think that the sports and NFL does a good job building character and players today? What do you think coaches and teams can do to help build good character?
I think what coaches and teams can do to build good character is to sort of point out the lessons of, you know, what's happening during the time that it's going on. You know, when you are going through a stretch, and let's say you're not winning, you know, pay attention to, you know, who gives up, who throws in the towel, who has a fatalistic attitude, but also pay attention to who is going to come day in and day out, even though, you know, the team's not doing well, who's going to do their job. Again, I go back to, you learn more through adversity when things aren't going well than when things are going well. So, you know, there are so many lessons that you can take away from the game, you know, about the teamwork and so forth. And when you're a part of a team, you're always going to remember You know, if you are part of a team right now, you will always remember that when you're 70 years old. You'll remember the guy next to you on the line. If you're a cheerleader, you're going to remember, you know, your cheerleader mates. You're always, these are memories that you're creating. And so, you know, there are many lessons that you take away from the sport, but try to pay attention to those lessons as you're going through them. And at the end, you ask yourself, what did I learn? You know, are we state champions, or am I better for having played the game? You know, what do I know about, you know, the guy next to me, how committed he is, and so forth.
Do we have 6 through 12 school in Frederick, Wisconsin still on?
Hi, my name is Tim. I'm from Frederick High School, Wisconsin. I just wanted to ask the question, what do you think of the NFL today? Can you compare playing when you did and playing right now, both positive and negative?
Quite frankly, the NFL has done a great job of marketing its product. It really is about entertainment. To me, it's more about entertainment than sport. Given the opportunity, I'm glad that I played when I played, because it was like a different feel then. I mean, I could not, you know, there was no free agency when I played, and so even if I wanted to be traded, you know, or if I was trying to get a new contract, in some ways I was stuck. Now that could be good, or it could be bad, but the one thing that I can say is, when I played, I knew that if I did my job, I would have a job. Now you can do your job and still lose your job simply because of how much you make. If a team needs your money and they come to you and they say, well, you know, you weren't quite as productive this year as you were last year, you know, we need you to give some money back, and if you don't, then they can cut you, or, you know, trade you to some place else. But, you know, quite frankly, I think it was a little bit more loyalty back then when I played as opposed to now. So I'm glad that I played during the era in which I played. There was more continuity then than now.
Well, we are out of time for questions, but I want to thank all of you for being so attentive, and let's have a nice round of applause for Harry Carson. Thank you, Harry, and enjoy the rest of your day.